my name is Nicole Avery and I blog at Planning with Kids, and I've also got the extraordinarily creatively titled Planning with Kids book as well, which has just been released. Last August in last year, I had one of those moments which you sort of hear about and wonder, are they really true? Is it just an urban myth or a blogger myth? And I had the toddler and preschooler down for their afternoon nap and went to the study to do some blogging and, of course, be distracted and go to my email first. And there was one sitting there which looked pretty interesting, and it went sort of something along the lines of, "Dear Nicole, found you via Twitter, was wondering had you considered putting your parenting ideas into a book?" And did go on to say lots of other nice things after that, but as they say, it pretty much had me at a book. So I, as first of all, was like, is this true? And is it a real company? And yes, it was. It was from Wiley, which is a large publishing house, an international publishing house. And were they serious? And so I made contact with Mary Masters, and yes, she was serious. So we met in September, and we had a great meeting about how I could look at moving the blog to a book. But there was a couple of really interesting things also happened in that conversation that really showed me the power of Twitter and social media in the book world now. One of the things that Mary had, to me, it seemed like a pretty good job as an acquisitions editor. She does a lot of research and looking at what's out there, and in her basically weekly schedule, she allocates time just to go have fun on Twitter and to actually look and sort of look about who's on there and what are they talking about, what are interesting topics, what's trending, and who are people connecting with. And previous, subsequent conversations with other people shows that there's a lot of editors that's what they do, because they see it as a source of, I guess, people who are at the forefront of their niche. And one thing that Mary was doing was that she was particularly looking in the parenting niche. Wiley had an imprint called Write Books, which is what my book's been published by, and they had published a book in the May on parenting, and it had been quite successful. It looked at the first year of a life of a new-time mum, and they really felt that they had room for another parenting book. So they were out there actively seeking that, and that's how they came across me. Because basically on Twitter, that's sort of some of the stuff that I talk about. I talk a lot about families, a lot about parenting and ways to make life easier as a family. I'd been on Twitter probably for about 2 years or so when this had come up, but really probably only been actively really engaging for about 18 months. Not sure, I presume most of you are on Twitter, but the first few times I got on there, it was sort of like a dip in, have a chat, have no idea what I was really doing, dap back out, and wouldn't go on for a few weeks. And then I sort of thought, look, I could see the potential in this, but I'm not sure how to use it. And then all of a sudden I thought, you know what, it's really just an extension of me and my blog, and I just need to sort of work with that. And once I sort of worked that out, I found Twitter really useful, and I found it really, I found whole networks of people that were very supportive. So I basically took across, I guess, my modus operandi from the blog onto Twitter. I wanted there to be a really nice alliance between me, the Twitter and the blog. And I guess there's sort of three things in the way I operate, and that is sharing information, solving problems, and appreciating and acknowledging the work of others. And I've been sort of operating like that in Twitter for the last 18 months. And this time last Friday I was launching the book, and the buzz that I have had from the on Twitter leading up to the launch and post that has been phenomenal. And to me, any efforts I've put into Twitter into building relationships has just come back like 1,000-fold, which is actually really handy, because when my husband sees me on Twitter and thinks I'm just faffing about, I'm just going, I'm marketing the book, I'm working really hard, can't you see that? So it's been a phenomenal experience for me, and I think I'm really, really lucky to be part of a really supportive group in Aussie mummy bloggers, most of which you all are here today. And I have a lot of hugs to give out when I've finished doing this presentation, because so many people have just really spoken so positively about the book and used Twitter to extend it to their networks and really get the Planning with Kids book out there. I'm on Twitter as @PlanningQueen, and I don't think @PlanningQueen has actually had so many mentions as I have in the last month, and for that I'm really, really grateful. And to me that just is absolutely the epitome of the Aussie Mummy blogging group. We are really supportive, and it's not just in terms of times like this. If there is something that's happening and someone needs a bit of help, Tiff at Three Ring Circus has got a lot of support from Twitter when things haven't been going so well for her family and her daughter Ivy. So it's actually a really spot that you can actually find a niche and get some inspiration. It hasn't only been just Aussie mum bloggers that have been supportive on Twitter. Darren Rouse is a pro blogger. He actually tweeted about the book the other day. He said his wife read it in one night and loved it. So, I don't actually get online all the time during the day as much as I would really like to, but at the end of the day I can get on, and before I even get onto Twitter I can tell through my stats now and through the sales that people have been talking about the book. So it's been a really, really lovely process for me. And coming to events like today, it's great because I can say things like Twitter and feeds and posts and Google Reader, and you guys all get it. Whereas in real life, you know, my network just don't get these things. But what the last couple of months' experience has done for me, though, it's actually made it really easy to explain why I hang out on Twitter and why would I want to see what someone else has had for lunch. So now when people say to me, what do I do with Twitter and how is that useful, I say, well, Twitter got me a book deal and now it's helping me sell my book. So thanks for listening to me this morning.